Hey guys, Epengu here at Shine 2017, day one in beautiful, briny Boston, Massachusetts with HugS86. Hugo, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Doing great. Love Boston.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You know, you are a connoisseur of cities, of food, of drinks. What makes Boston so appealing to you?
Pretty much whenever I travel, the two things I look for the most are beer and food, and the city's got both. Also, the people are super awesome. Very liberal city, which I'm a fan of. So,
Yeah.
went to. I won't talk about the other cities that weren't as liberal, but definitely a fan of Boston for sure.
Okay, cool. Are you a fan of Shine as well, or is it just the city?
Shine was probably my favorite tournament of last year, so I don't think this year will be any different. So, definitely looking forward to it for sure.
You know, I think something that sets Shine apart is that it really is a tournament made by Melee organizers. Matt.Zeb's been in the scene for so long. You got really cool things like the lane shift thing going on. Recently, you made a tweet that was like, prediction, Evo will drop Melee next year, even though it's dumb. What do you think about that divide in the community recently between tournaments that maybe are for Melee and aren't for Melee, or just for Smash in general?
Well, I think the divide only exists between FGC events and Smash exclusive events. And it's not to say that the FGC doesn't care. They just have a different perspective on how tournaments should be ran. And while I'm not putting the all FGC tournament organizers into one group, but it just generally I see a lot of the same opinions and ideas on how events should be run from the FGC, and it doesn't always mix super well with Smash. So I don't know if. Well, actually, you know what? I don't think it's a good thing. I think that tournament organizers should adapt to the scene that they're hosting. And if people don't show up, it's not because the scene doesn't care. It's because they're not appealing to the demographic that they're going after by hosting a tournament. So I think, yeah, that's something that it's not that they're doing a horrible job, but there are some things that they could improve for sure.
You know, I asked other people about this too, but there's been a lot of discussion recently too about how do we continue to grow Smash and grow Melee when we don't have sponsor support, don't have any native support from Nintendo. And I think that's related to this Smash versus FGC thing. Do you have any ideas on how we could move forward as a scene, grow ourselves while, you know, not burning too many bridges?
I'm not sure, but I think there needs to be less discussion between the communities and the FGC leaders, and more discussions between the Smash leaders and the FGC leaders. And it's not to say that we're completely different communities. I do consider us the same community. It's just when it comes down to the way certain events are run, and I'll be specific. Some things that we've always disagreed on are things like, for example, floating players. And it's not like we do it so much in Smash, but perhaps it's a thing that does apply to Smash and it doesn't apply to FGC games, but they're very traditional in how they approach running tournaments, whereas Smash is more progressive, in my opinion. Other examples include, for example, if you're trying to run if you're trying to include Melee at an event that's not fully trusted by the Smash community, it's not going to help to have no top players attending. So if it's within your funds to fly out Axe and West Bowls, and that's it, that's going to change the outlook of the tournament. It's going to add viewers on stream. It's going to make people want to show up live. And then next year you won't have to do that. And I'm not saying, is it okay that there's a cop going?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not saying that that's something they need to do all the time, but you could be a little forward thinking and possibly do that one year just to get eyes on your event like Shine did last year. And then look at Shine now, right? They didn't fly me out to this. I had to pay all out of my own pocket, but they flew me out last year. They flew out a bunch of people. The tournament blew up, and now it's its own thing, and that was on its debut event. It hit like over 2,000 people live attendees in a city that has really never had a big major, not in a very long time. And that's just with Smash's progressive thinking. And maybe they went into the red a little bit, but this year, I bet you they're not. And they got a lot more attendance, and they didn't have to shell out the same kind of investment. You know, it's an investment. And, yeah, I just wish FGC TOs would be a little more progressive in their thinking.
Well, speaking of you having to fly out on your own dime, you recently, unfortunately because Selfless disbanded, you are without a sponsor. You're a free agent right now. That question of sponsorships for players is also related to how we move the scene forward, I think. And I think that you are a person who is not just notable as a player, but as a personality, as a streamer, et cetera, et cetera. How do you strive to grow the community with your brand, with your stream, aside from just being a player?
Well, I feel that if people are attaching themselves to my personality or investing in what I do, then that's just another eye that's invested in the scene, right? So just like any player in any sport, if you are attached to Kobe Bryant, then you care about watching the NBA, you care about what he does in the Lakers, and you care about how he plays against the other teams. So you just become invested through a player. And if I can do that for some people that otherwise would not be invested in Smash, then I think it's a great thing. And I think more esports players in general should be putting their personalities out there more.
Interesting. Okay, well, Hugo, since you are a free agent right now, look into the camera. Tell all those sponsors you can cut this and use it for your own use. Why should they sponsor you, Hugo?
I think that, well, in terms of gameplay, I'm one of the top 20 players in the world right now. I'm officially ranked 21st, but I think there's a little discrepancy there. But aside from that, aside from my gameplay, I'm also probably one of the people that has branded himself the most in the scene, and I have a pretty strong following and a strong fan base, and I think I'm pretty decent at speaking in front of a camera. So if there's brands on your team that you're wishing to push, you can put me on a YouTube video, and I'd be fired. Like, I do it all the time on my own stream. So I definitely think I have a lot of value outside from my gameplay for any kind of team. So hopefully a team will recognize that soon and pick me up.
Do you think that your history in the scene, your longevity, your ability to really talk about the long story that Smash has had and all these players has had, do you think that contributes to, not just, it obviously contributes to you as a potential pickup, but to your ability to brand yourself and your inclination to brand yourself as opposed to just playing to play?
So you're asking if my history in the scene helps me brand myself?
Do you think that you're more inclined towards branding yourself because you've been in the scene so long?
I wouldn't say so. No, I think it's strictly just because that's how I am, and I just understand that. Well, I actually just have fun with people getting to know me for who I am rather than just the character I play on screen. So I think I would just do that whether or not I've been doing that way back when the scene was only 2 years old, or when it was 4 years old, etc. in 2006. I was doing that since way back then, so I don't think my time in the scene has changed that.
There's some, you are one of the people who has seen Smash grow and rise and fall and go through many mountains and valleys in its time. And recently I've definitely seen some talk of, the viewership numbers are stagnating, they're staying about the same. Do you think that that's actually the sign of a real decline or just one more temporary one that we're going through?
I wouldn't even call it a decline. I would call it a plateau. And I do think that we are essentially at our ceiling, and as Blur likes to say, it's more of a glass ceiling. We could see where we can go beyond that, but right now we're definitely at a plateau and we're stuck, and it's going to come down to people investing, outside parties investing in our scene more. That includes sponsors, that includes teams, that includes publishers, or our one publisher, hopefully. It also includes big brands like Red Bull with Gods and Gatekeepers. Right. Like, keeping brands like that interested in our scene is definitely going to help us push through that ceiling that we have right now. And without that, I think we've done as much as we could on our own. So we definitely are going to start needing some help. I don't think we'll go down, really, because we are scrappy, as Blur likes to say. But we definitely need some help to more easily get to that next level.
Well, you just named a bunch of things that we need for growth, publishers, all that sort of stuff. One thing you didn't say right then, but that you hinted at earlier, was tournaments. And we've been seeing a lot of tournaments coming from outside with huge amounts of money. GTX Gamer Tyrants Expo coming up is boasting one of the biggest prize pools we've ever seen. And a lot of people are a little bit suspicious, I would say, just of something coming in like that. Do you think that suspicion is warranted, or is it just that people are afraid, resistant to change?
I definitely think it's warranted because we've had a lot of shady organizations involved with Smash in the past So when I hear $30,000 from a company that I don't recognize, I automatically, my brain goes there. But then I see who's backing it and who's in support of it. And there's a lot of people whose judgment I trust. So I definitely trust GTX, considering the people that are behind it and the people that are supporting it. So I'm not worried about them. But if some organization comes in and promises a lot of money and I have no way of verifying where they're getting their money, I don't know who the owners are, the venue's a mystery, things like that, then it's shady. But GTX seems like a good pick. I don't know if tournaments themselves are going to change our landscape, though. I don't think one big prize pool really does it. Maybe it takes many, maybe it takes a league, but I've never seen one event with a lot of money change everything for our scene. Maybe if there's like $1 million tournament, then that would be freakish, and then everyone would talk about it. But 30,000 is a lot, but it's just more than we're used to. But it's not something that just blows everyone's minds like it's something we've never seen before. Right. That's not to say that 30,000 is anything like to scoff at, because we don't have that much typically. But it's not like Dota, where all kinds of what news outlets are going to, cover, wow, $30,000 for this game, which is a good amount of money, but they're not going to cover it the way they do Dota. It'll be different.
Well, speaking of those organizations that are coming out without backgrounds, as someone who's on the search for a sponsor, there has been this little trend recently of gaming teams popping up with not that much history to them, 200 Twitter followers or less. And we've seen some of them definitely go to shady places and some of them not go to shady places. How do you gauge that? How would you gauge a team like Mike's team, like Beast Coast, or like Balance versus something that might actually be scamming its players?
Okay. Well, I don't think they are.
No. That's why I put Beast Coast and Balance together. Good organizations.
I think a couple of things to look out for is you want to know where their money's coming from. So if I don't know the name or trust the brand, I will always ask where the money's coming from, and I pretty much expect like a reasonable answer, not just this person's dad is the CEO of some company out in North Carolina and they do construction, so he's got a lot of money. Granted, I might get paid, but that's probably going to last a couple months, and that's not something I want to rely on. It could be shadier where it says, oh, this guy's just rich, and you don't know what he does, and then you rely on that. That's when you're probably going to get scammed. It also depends on what they're offering, right? If they're offering something that's just way above market rate for what a player of your value is worth, then you could trust that they're just talking. They're just vomiting dollar signs at you, and it's probably going to be a scam. So a lot of ways to tell. The best way is obviously established teams, and then after that, it's established money behind the team, and then after that, you just shouldn't trust it. That's it.
Do you think it sort of sounds like there might be a role to fill, a gap to fill, where someone with knowledge could advise other players? Because, I mean, a lot of the people who are signing these deals, especially in Smash 4 and stuff, they're like 17 years old, right? Do you think that that's something, a role, lawyers for our scene, representatives for our scene, that might come as we continue to grow if we break through that glass ceiling?
So right now, we definitely don't need it because our community is a community, so there's a lot of people looking out for other people. And in some way, shape, or form, someone's going to know enough about an organization to tell you you could trust this or you cannot. And there's people willing to help all the time. So we're not alone in this whole endeavor. But I can imagine a point where the money gets so big and the people get so busy and you're going to start needing professionals. Right now, we definitely don't need consultants. We don't need lawyers. I think esports lawyers are, I don't know why they exist. I don't get it right now. Well, for our scene. Okay. Maybe for Dota, where there's millions involved. But outside of that, it's not necessary. Our game's small enough and the money's small enough where you could just trust your friends to figure out if a deal's good or not.
All right. Last thing, really trying to sell you to the sponsors here, Hugo. Aside from all your other accomplishments as streamer, very well-spoken man, top Samus player, you're also quite the food critic yourself. So I want to know, since you've just talked about how much you love Boston, What does Yelp say is the best restaurant near here, Hugo? What's what's the best place to eat?
So that I do not know because last time I came here, the food was okay. And there was some places that were good, but not extremely memorable. But I know that I could find something. We might be in the certain part of downtown where there's just a lot of chains, maybe. But I do know the beer, and one of my favorite breweries in the world, period, is just walking distance from the Shine venue. It's called Trillium, and they make the best IPAs that I possibly ever had. And I come from California, where we're kings of IPAs, and they're amazing. So that's something for sure. Otherwise, all the food's been good, but nothing's been blow my mind good. But I know I could find it here, so I know it exists. Right. That's what counts.
Last thing, any shout-outs, any plugs you want to give before we finish the interview?
Shout-outs to the Sub Pub, my stream viewers, my fans, my supporters. No sponsor now, so no sponsor to shout out. But shout out to HGC for being homies and always. That's your phone, man. That's the HTC 10. It's a great phone, actually. I've been using it for a while. But yeah, that's about it.
Cool. Thanks so much for the interview, Hugo. And for more content this weekend from Shine, you can follow this YouTube channel, and you can follow Hugo HugS86 on all social media. Thanks, guys.